Hello everyone and welcome back. And in today's videos we're gonna set up this navigation here so you can see how it's done. Okay, so first of all, let's create a Kotlin file here. We can call this ChatNavHost, so ChatNavHost, and this will be a composable function. So let's transform this in function towards a file and let's annotate it with composable. So before we set up here, we're gonna create this navigation with nav2, let's say this way, but in the future we're gonna refactor to the nav3, so you can see how you do this in your real project. Okay, so the first thing we need to set up our navigation is actually to import the library, but we can do this way here. So let's create a val here. Let's call this NavController, like this, and we're gonna call this rememberNavController here. So you can see we don't have this dependency here, so you can just click here to add this dependency, and let's wait this sync here. Okay, so this is imported now. You can see that this modifier here builds.gradle, and we have this new library here, navigation compose. And if you don't have this, just add this line here, and in the package libs here you can just add this navigation compose here with this version here. So back in the ChatNavHost, first of all I'm gonna to set up here, and then we can talk about remember. You can talk about the NavHost itself and how it's gonna work. Okay, so let's add this NavHost here. So you can add this NavHost. You can pass this NavController here. So NavController gonna be NavController, and this is also ask for our start destination. So the start destination, we're gonna say that will be our splash screen, like this. Okay, and then we just call composable here, and we say to this composable a name for this, like a splash one, a string splash, and inside here you can call or screen or do whatever you want to do when this destination splash is called. Okay, so what you're gonna do here, you can see you are repeating this here, so you can create some hosts here. You can call this host, you can call this destination, depends on the where you're working. So const val, let's call this splash and call this route. Okay, and let's call this splash. Let's create another two here. So const val, let's call this signing roach, and let's call this signing, and let's call this sign up hold here too. And now we can just copy this, paste this here, paste this here, and we can add another two composables here. So composable, not this one, actually you can just do this, and here we can pass the signing, and we can just duplicate that and add this sign up here. Great, so what do we have here? We have this NavController here, and you can see we using this new thing here called remember. So about this remember here, we'll learn about this later, but basically this function will remember the state of the NavController across the recomposition. So this remember NavController function here, so what you can say, composable functions they can be recomposed, so it can rerun many times. So the remember function ensures that the NavController is preserved across this recomposition. Without the remember, a new NavController would be created every time the ChatNavHost recompose, so this can cause our navigation to be lost. And this NavController instantiation should be created high level in your composable hierarchy, so it can be shared by all screens that need it. Okay. The NavHost itself acts as container that displays the current destination based on the NavController stage. And this start destination here says what is our start destination. So it tells to the NavHost here which screen to show when the app first loads. Let's call this ChatNavHost here so you can see it's working. So we can go to this main active here. We can put this inside our chat app team here. So you can just import this. Okay, so you can also get rid of this. Not gonna need this. And in the previous class, we talk about the scaffold, how this sets up the screen for us, but we don't have the chance to actually see this. So you can see now because we don't have a scaffold here, and we don't have nothing here, and neither a scaffold. So let's pass a text here so we can see and something. And this text you can say, let's say splash screen, like this, okay? So you can see that probably this text here will appear side here. As you can see, the text appear here. If you want, you can just get this scaffold that you built here and you can pass here and you see this, you start to respect these assets here, okay? Perfect. So in the next class, we're gonna import our assets and then we're gonna start to create our screens. So let's keep it going and I see you in the next video. Bye.